Welcome back to your class on defensiveness and impression management theory. In 1959, Erving Goffman created impression management theory. Goffman noticed that everyone walks around acting, putting on a performance for other people. He argues that the reason why people put on a performance for other people is because they want to manage the perceptions that people have of them. In short, people want to be viewed in a positive light. One way that they do that is through face and face work. Now, face is the specific actions and manipulations a person makes on themselves in order to make that impression on other people. This idea of face and face work is what we need to take into consideration when examining critical feedback and defensiveness. Now, inevitably, you will receive critical feedback at one point in your life, and you will also probably give feedback at some point in your life. You'll receive feedback whether it is a grade and an evaluation in a class during your annual review. You also might give feedback. You might be the boss, or you might be asked to fill out a peer evaluation. Now, with critical feedback often comes defensiveness. So what is defensiveness anyways? Defensiveness is a negative behavior, emotion, or attitude that comes with the perception of being criticized. How can I prevent defensiveness? 1. When I am giving critical feedback, I can prevent defensiveness by attaching praise to the criticism. So we call this the sandwich method. Giving one compliment, then providing the feedback, and then giving another compliment. This way the person not only feels like they're being criticized, but positively evaluated as well, and therefore are more likely to accept the feedback as opposed to being defensive about it. Next, acknowledging that this is a behavior or attitude that has happened with other people before. Showing them that they are not the only person that has ever had to have this conversation or been given this feedback will make them feel not alone, and will also show them that there is a way to improve and move forward from it. Finally, spotlighting. Your comments are meant to be about specifically this behavior or attitude and not as this person as a whole. Being clear about this will allow them to move forward and separate the behavior and attitude from their identity. So when evaluating feedback, it's important to recognize that there are two different types of feedback. There is constructive feedback and there is destructive feedback. The difference between these two is that constructive feedback is very clear, it's specific, and it helps the person to take actionable steps forward to change the behavior, attitude, or mindset. Destructive, on the other hand, is very harmful. It is often very vague and doesn't allow for any sort of recognition of how to move forward or how to be productive out of this feedback. So when you're looking to examine whether or not feedback is constructive or destructive, you can go through a few steps. The first step to go through is to, from an objective standpoint, ask if this is a personal attack. If you cannot figure out on your own if this is a personal attack, you want to bring in someone who is completely objective. Finally, you can look for the logic or the rationale that flows through the whole thing. Next, we're going to do an activity. Now, this activity, I'm going to provide you with a constructive feedback and a destructive feedback. What I want from you is for you to figure out which one is constructive and which one is destructive. The second thing I want you to do is, in the destructive feedback, I want you to rewrite that feedback so that it becomes constructive. Here is example A. Students are giving each other peer feedback in class after someone presented a speech. One student received a ballot that said, "I don't like this speech. I thought it was bad. I wasn't persuaded. I'd give it an F." Example 2. Another student is given a ballot. This ballot reads, "I thought it was an okay speech overall, but I think it would be more effective if it had clearer structure. Perhaps the speaker could add more signposts and transition statements to keep the audience on the same page as them."